Salvete discipuli discipulaeque linguae latinae, mihi valde placet vos pulchram linguam latinam aeternam docere. In the last lesson, I led you to the stars through the challenges of the first and second declension adjectives. Ad astra per aspera. Now that we are among the stars, let us enjoy the view. We will, in this lesson, solidify our grasp of first and second declension endings by continuing to expand our range with first and second declension nouns. The good news is, of course, that the endings for the second declension nouns and first declension nouns, all these endings are exactly the same as the endings for first and second declension adjectives. The only oddity is that some masculine nouns appear in the first declension, and that some feminine nouns appear in the second declension. Call them cross-dressers, if you will. We can have some fun with them, but we will begin with nouns first that conform to type. Let us first review our first declension endings. Please repeat after me in the singular. Ah, I, ah. And in the plural, I, arum, is, as, is. And one more time. Ah, I, ah. I, arum, is, as, is. Chanting is fun. Let's put these almost always feminine endings on a girl, then a woman, and then, for fun, a masculine noun. The word for girl in Latin is puella. The genitive is puellae. And please remember that it's the genitive case that tells us to what declension a noun belongs. Every noun that has a genitive singular in AE is a first declension noun. What if the genitive singular ends in IS? That's a third declension noun. You'll also recall that to find a noun stem, we go to the genitive singular form and remove the ending. So in this instance, if the genitive is puellae, and we remove the genitive ending AE, we reveal the stem, which is puel. We can now decline girl in Latin, shall we? Nominative, the girl verbs. Puella. Genitive, of the girl. Puellae. Dative, to or for the girl. Puellae. Accusative, verb that girl. Puellam. Ablative, by, with, or from the girl. Puella. In the nominative plural, the girls are verbing. Puellae. Genitive, of the girls, puellarum. Dative, to or for the girls, puellis. Accusative, verb those girls, puellas. Ablative, by, with, or from the girls, puellis. You may recall the word for woman, mulier, mulieris. Mulier, mulieris belongs to the third declension. A genitive ending in is makes that clear enough. But there's another word for woman in Latin, femina. Femina, feminae. If we examine the genitive singular form, feminae, we see the ending ae. This can only be a first declension word, so we must follow the first declension pattern. If we then remove that genitive ending ae, can you tell me what the stem is? Did you say femin? If so, you were spot on. I'll give you the English. Please try to provide the Latin. The woman verbs. Femina, of the woman. Feminae, to or for the woman. Feminae, verb that woman. Feminam, by, with, or from the woman. Femina. The women, verb. Feminae. Of the women. Feminarum. To or for the women. Feminis. Verb those women. Feminas. By, with, or from the women. Feminis. Now, the overwhelming majority of first declension nouns are feminine in gender. But there are a few masculine nouns of the first declension too. Let's look at one. The word for farmer in Latin is agricola, agricolae. The genitive ending in ae screams one thing, first declension. If we remove that genitive ending ae from agricolae, what is our stem? Agricole. Even though the word is masculine, the word declines the same way as girl or woman. Shall we? Nominative singular, agricola. Genitive, agricolae. Dative, agricolae. Accusative, agricolam. Ablative, agricola. And in the plural, nominative plural, agricolae. Genitive, agricolarum. Dative, agricolis. Accusative, agricolas. Ablative, agricolis. The real fun begins when we modify agricola with an adjective, but we still have some work to do. Let's review our second declension masculine endings. First, the singular. Please repeat after me. Us, or are, o. And now the plural. Eorum, isos is. Again in the singular. Us, o. In the plural. Eorum, isos is. And one more time in the singular. Us, o. And in the plural. Eorum, isos is. Most second declension masculine nominative singulars end in us, but some end in are. We'll practice both. Let's begin with servus, servi, a word that means slave. How do we know that this word, this noun, belongs to the second declension? The genitive ends in a long I, and if we remove that genitive ending, we can also reveal the stem. Ser. Well, that's hard to pronounce. How do you pronounce a W after an R? Serve. Well, we'll pronounce that V like a W. Let's decline it. The nominative, singular, the slave performs an action, the slave verbs, servus. Genitive, of the slave, servi. Dative, to or for the slave, servo. Accusative, verb that slave, servum. Ablative, by, with, or from the slave, servo. And the nominative plural, the slaves are verbing, servi. Genitive, of the slaves, servorum. Dative, to or for the slaves, servis. Accusative, verb those slaves, servos. In ablative, by, with, or from the slaves, servis. Let's try a second declension masculine that ends in R. The word puer, pueri, means boy. How do we know that this word belongs to the second declension? Its genitive ends in a long I. By definition, every noun with a genitive singular ending in a long I belongs to the second declension. If we remove that genitive ending in long I, we reveal the stem onto which we attach the other endings. What is that stem? Puer. Let's decline the little fellow. The boy verbs. Puer. Of the boy. Pueri. To or for the boy. Puero. Verb that boy. Puerum. By, with, or from the boy. Puero. The boy's verb. Pueri. Of the boys. Puerorum. To or for the boys. Pueris. Verb those boys. Pueros. By, with, or from the boys. Pueris. And there are some words in the second declension that look masculine but are feminine. Trees, for example. The word for ash tree is fraxinus, fraxini. That tree is feminine, but you can't tell by looking at it. Fraxinus declines just like servus. If we remove the genitive I of fraxini, what is our stem? Fraxin. Let's see whether we can decline a feminine second declension noun. Nominative singular, fraxinus. Genitive, fraxini. Dative, fraxino. Accusative, fraxinum. Ablative, fraxino. Nominative plural, fraxini. Genitive, fraxinorum. Dative, fraxinis. Accusative, fraxinos. And ablative, fraxinis. Again, the fun is modifying these cross-dressers. They're no harder to decline than their gender-conforming lookalikes. But we will delay that fun until after we look at the second declension neuter nouns, which, by the way, unlike first declension and second declension, primarily masculine nouns, never engage in any cross-dressing. If the noun behaves like a second declension neuter noun, it is a second declension neuter. What is the pattern? Nominative followed by a genitive in long I. The genitive in long I tells us that the noun belongs to the second declension. But if a second declension noun has a nominative that ends in that noun is neuter. Let's review second declension neuter endings. First the singular. Please repeat after me. I, o. And now the plural. A orum, is, a, is. Again, the singular. I, o, o. Plural. A orum, is, a, is. And one more time. I, o, o. A orum, is, a, is. In the last lesson, we declined basium basii, which means kiss. That allowed us to reflect on one aspect of Roman culture. In this lesson, let us decline the word for war, bellum belli, a second declension neuter that will allow us to reflect on another aspect of Roman culture. If we look at bellum belli, we see a nominative in followed by a genitive in long I. The tells us that war is neuter, and the long I tells us that war belongs to the second declension. And if we remove the genitive ending in long I, we reveal the stem, which is bel. So let's decline. Nominative, the war, is the subject of a verb, bellum. Genitive, of the war, belli. Dative, to or for the war, bello. Accusative, verb that war, bellum. Ablative, by, with, or from the war, bello. And the nominative plural, the wars are subjects of a verb, bella. Genitive, of the wars, bellorum. Dative, to or for the wars, bellis, accusative, verb those wars, bella, and ablative, by, with, or from the wars, bellis. And now we can have some fun modifying these nouns. Let's modify each of these nouns with a good first and second declension adjective. Bonus. Bonus, bona, bonum, which means good. Which form is masculine? Which form is feminine? Which form is neuter? Bonus is masculine, bona is feminine, and bonum is neuter. Adjectives, as you recall, must agree with the nouns they modify in case, number, and gender. Let's review the first and second declension nouns we just declined. Puella, puellae, feminine, girl. Femina, feminae, feminine, woman. Agricola, agricolae, masculine, farmer. Servus, servi, masculine, slave. Puer, pueri, masculine, boy. Fraxinus, fraxini, feminine, ash tree. Bellum, belli, neuter, war. Our first exercise will be simple. Everything will be nominative. Everything will be nominative singular. I'll provide the English, you provide the Latin equivalent in the pause provided. After that pause, I, Molinarius Bonus, will provide the correct response. Are you ready? The good girl. Puella bona. The good woman. Femina bona. The good farmer. Agricola bonus. Did you say bona, feminine, or bonus, masculine? Bonus is correct because adjectives agree with nouns in case, number, and gender. Adjectives are agreeable to that extent, but they draw the line at cross-dressing. Adjectives conform to the standard gender of their declension, even if the nouns have crossed the line. Agricola bonus. How about good slave? Servus bonus. The good boy? Puer bonus. And the good ash tree? Fraxinus bona. The adjective bona agrees in case, nominative, number singular, and gender feminine. It does not agree in declension. Fraxinus bona. And finally, the good war. Bellum bonum. Okay, let's mix it up a bit. I will give you a noun-adjective combination in English. Try to translate that phrase into its Latin equivalent in the pause provided. After the pause, you'll hear the correct response. To or for the good girls. That's a dative plural. Puellis bonis. Of the good girls. That's a genitive plural. Puellarum bonarum. Accusative, the verb the good girls. Puellas bonas. How about accusative, verb the good wars? Bella bona. By, with, or from the good slave. That's an ablative singular. Servo bono. By, with, or from the good farmer. Agricola bono. Of the good slaves, it's a genitive plural. Servorum bonorum. Of the good farmers, genitive plural. Agricolarum bonorum. The endings do not always have to match. But you knew that because in the last lecture, we modified third declension nouns with first and second declension adjectives, and those endings certainly did not match. We can review the third declension too, and verb forms as well. But enjoyable as these drills are, let's look at some Latin sentences and apply what you know to some ancient turns of thought and phrase. Here's a sentence adapted from Valerius Maximus's first book of memorable deeds and sayings, his Facta Dicta Memorabilia. And this sentence gives us some insight into the interactions between the chief priest of Rome's state religion and one of the Vestal priestesses who acted as guardians of the goddess Vesta's eternal flame. Let's read this sentence aloud slowly. I'll pause after every 2 words so you can repeat after me. Publius Licinius, Pontifex Maximus, Virginem Vestalem, quia nocte, ignem aeternum, mala custodit, flagro admonit. And now the whole sentence. Publius Licinius, Pontifex Maximus, Virginem Vestalem, quia nocte ignem aeternum mala custodit, flagro admonit. There are 2 verbs. Let's translate them first. They're both present tense indicatives that end in T. So who does such a verb? The answer is he, she, or it. Custodit means he, she, or it guards. Think of the custodian who takes care of a building. The word admonit means he, she, or it reminds or instructs. Our English word admonish derives from admonio. We will need to figure out who does each of these verbs. Let's return to the beginning of the sentence. Publius Licinius Pontifex Maximus. In what cases are all these words? Nominative. Which words modify which other words? This is not easy, unless you know that Publius Licinius is the name of a Roman politician who was chief priest from 212 to 183 BCE. Pontifex is a noun that means priest. Maximus means chief or greatest. Does Maximus modify Licinius or the priest? It modifies Pontifex to give us chief priest. But Publius Licinius and the chief priest are the same person. Can a noun modify a noun? Not exactly. But we can put the 2 next to each other. This is called apposition. By putting chief priest next to Publius Licinius, the author tells us that Publius Licinius is the chief priest. We do the same thing in English. Publius Licinius, comma, chief priest. And because Licinius is nominative, we know that he is the subject of one, or perhaps even both of the 2 verbs we just identified. But let's go on. Virginem Vestalem, the Vestal priestess. When we see the ending M, we know that what we see is what? What declension? EM. Well, it ends in M. It's an accusative singular, third declension. Shall we review? Please repeat after me. Blank is EM. I don't need to do the plural. Virginem Vestalem. We know that the subject either guards or admonishes the Vestal priestess. Let's forge on. Quia. This word introduces a subordinate clause. We're not going to get any verbal satisfaction anytime soon. Quia means because. Nocte, nox noctis, means night. Let's decline till we get to the form nocte. The genitive ends in is, so what is the declension? Third. If we remove the is, what is our stem? N-O-C-T, noct. Let's decline. Nox, noctis, nocti, noctem, nocte. We can stop. Nocte. Case? Ablative. By, with, or from the night. By night would be the closest, but I don't like that, so let's say at night. Should be better English. The ablative can also be used to tell us when something takes place. We, very creatively, call this the ablative of time when. And on we go. Ignem aeternum. Ignis is a third declension masculine. Aeternus, aeterna, aeternum is a first and second declension adjective. Does aeternum agree with ignem? You bet it does. They are both masculine accusative singular. Somebody verbs the eternal flame. The eternal flame, though, is never, ever supposed to go dark on the hearth of Vesta's temple, even at night. Nocte. I see trouble. The next word is male, an adverb which means badly. And then finally, that verb, custodit. That's not the main verb, but a verb in the subordinate clause introduced by quia. Let's go back and do the whole clause. Quia nocte ignem aeternum male custodit. Because at night, the eternal flame, badly, he, she, or it guards. But is the subject he, she, or it? Well, the first part of the sentence gives us our clue. As we know, who is supposed to guard the flame at night? The Vestal priestess. That's one of her main jobs. So, we can translate the clause this way. Because she poorly guards the eternal flame at night. And on we go. Back to the main clause with the word flugro. Flugrum flugri is a neuter noun that means whip. What is the case? Let's decline. E, o, o. There are two O's, so it's either dative or ablative. So we can translate to, for, by, with, or from the whip. All right, those are possibilities. Let's move on. Admonit. He, she, or it reminds. Okay, now let's go back to the beginning. We will ignore the quia clause. We're just going to do the main clause. Let's translate. Publius Licinius, Pontifex Maximus, virginem vestalem, flagro admonit. Publius Licinius, the chief priest, the Vestal priestess, to, for, by, with, or from a whip, reminds. That's going word for word. Let's ignore the whip. What does the priest do? The priest reminds the priestess. That's nice. But how does he remind her? Flagro, with a whip. I would call this ablative of means because the whip is the tool or the means by which the priest gets the verb done. The chief priest, Publius Licinius, reminds or instructs the Vestal priestess with a whip. Why? Quia nocte ignem aeternum male custodit. Because she guards the eternal flame poorly at night. Let's try the whole sentence. Publius Licinius, Pontifex Maximus, virginem vestalem, quia nocte ignem aeternum male custodit, flagro admonit. Publius Licinius, the chief priest, reminds the Vestal priestess with a whip, because at night she watches poorly over the eternal flame. Now, I'm not trying to put the Romans in a bad light. They were actually proud of this story. To them, it showed how seriously they took their religious duties. Now, we may draw a few lessons of our own based on which gender wielded the whip, and that would not be inappropriate, as patriarchy, my friends, runs deep in the West, and such stories help us understand why those who seek equity have a lot of history to deal with. Let's take this sentence, though, and use the vocabulary to make up a few variations of our own. Virgines vestales pontificem maximum flagris custodiunt. Let's parse. Please tell me the case number and gender of virgines. Nominative, plural, feminine. Why nominative? The priestesses are the subjects of the verb custodiunt, which ends in nt. Please parse pontificem. Accusative singular masculine. Why? Pontificem is the direct object of the verb custodiant. Why is maximum accusative singular masculine? It agrees with pontificem. Please parse flagris. Ablative plural neuter. And why are flagris in the ablative? Ablative of means. The priestesses use the whips as a means to guard the priest. Please parse custodiant. Third person plural. Why? The verb agrees with the subject virgines. So, putting all that together, how would you translate virgines vestales pontificem maximum flagris custodiunt? The Vestal priestesses guard the chief priest with whips. Now try this one. Virgines vestales nocte pontificem maximum custodiunt. The Vestal priestesses guard the chief priest at night. Please parse nocte. Ablative, singular, feminine. Why is it ablative? Ablative of time when? So there you have it. After 2,000 years, our knowledge of Latin has allowed us to turn the tables on the chief priest. To change the present, we must know the past, and Latin, of course. And you, my Latin lovers, amatores linguae Latinae, have today safeguarded our precious language as well. You are free to go so that you may learn Latin ut linguam Latinam discatis and practice it on your own before we meet again. Gratias vobis ago. And until we meet again, take care so that you may be well. Curate ut valeatis.